Welcome to Venice Views. I'm Pam Johnson, Marketing and Communications Officer for the City of Venice. And today we're going to bring you the second part of our interview with Dan and Freda Boone. They came here in the early 50s. They've been here for 56 years, started a law firm, raised their children, and we were talking about how downtown just wasn't what it is today when Dan and Freda first moved here, and some of the things that they saw and actually participated in is partly in their professional lives and partly in their civic lives. So when we left last month, we were talking about other ways that you had participated in making Venice what it is, and we were talking about the post office and the bank. Tell me about the bank.
Well, it was there was, in a growing city, you just have to have banking services, and it really pays to have competition. And with only one bank in town, Venice Nokomis Bank, there was no competition, and so that's when I filled out an application and filed for a national bank charter. And it took, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, but the national bank charter was granted, and that is now, it was First National Bank of Venice, and it's now Suntrust Bank on Nokomis Avenue. It was a real something really needed.
Now, did Merle Grazer come here to specifically operate that bank?
Well, actually, Merle came from Miami, and he came in not as the chief operating officer, president of the bank. He came in, I believe, as the secretary. I believe the secretary of the bank, and then Merle was promoted up and became president of the bank and became chairman of the board, and spent a full career running a really first-class bank operation.
And he also became mayor at one time.
And was the mayor of Venice. Absolutely, we talked him into that, and he was the mayor of Venice and did a splendid job as mayor. And of course, is retired right here in Venice.
Right. Well, tell us some of the other things. Now, I think, did you have something to do with Grace United Methodist Church?
Yes. When we moved here, there was one Methodist church in the area, and it was in Nokomis, the Venice Nokomis Methodist Church. And what happened was that a group of churchgoers were meeting toward forming a new church, a Methodist church, and we had been. Freda was Methodist all her life, born and raised. Same with me, and the church's district superintendent came to me and asked me if we would please get involved with this new church that's going to be formed in Venice. And so we did. We joined the group, and it became known as Grace Methodist Church. And that's the property right across the street from our office.
That was convenient.
Yeah, very. Yeah, again, Bob Baynard, the land was vacant. The land was there for sale, and he sold that land to the church.
Mm-hmm. So, Rotary. Tell me about your involvement in Rotary.
Well, I have been a Rotarian forever, and I have held different offices. Secretary of Rotary and president of Rotary and all, and in more recent years, I have been the program chairman, and that's a job, but I enjoy it. I like it, and that's what I do. In fact, this week we're going to have a combined meeting of the Sertoma Club of Venice and the Rotary Club of Venice, and we're going to honor the high school baseball team state champions this past spring.
That's right. We're really proud of our high school sports teams.
Oh, absolutely.
And the academics there as well. But that's nothing new to you because you have been involved in the high school much longer than when your kids were there.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Well, okay. The high school was a hand-me-down as far as the athletic facilities go, and I was involved with the first money raising because you couldn't get the money from the school board. So we built stands on the south side of the field and a scoreboard and some lighting, and then a few years later we had another fund drive where we built the stands are on the north side, the ones that now are the home stands, and the press box, and better lighting, and a new scoreboard and all that. That plus we took on the ticket sales, the adult season tickets. How many years have we done that?
A long time.
A long time.
As long as I've lived here.
I'm gonna say 30 years. I mean, we have been the adult season ticket people for all those years. That's the high school. We even when Jeff and Steve were in high school, and the stands needed painting. They'd never been painted desperately. We actually muscled up a group of the high school, like John Ryan and Jeff and Steve and the others, and bought the paint, and we painted the entire stands.
Oh, that's wonderful.
The stories,
I love that. That's what Venice is about. You go
That's right.
any place in this town and you will see something that somebody's muscle power did. The Service Club Park, you were probably involved in that.
Yes, that's one more. But since I'm sitting here talking to you, I remember now that I guess that the beachfront, if there's any one thing maybe for Venice more than anything else, it probably would be the beachfront. But there was another one that's now come to my mind, and that is that after we'd lived here a couple years and bought a lot and wanted to build a house, we needed mortgage financing. And when it came time to get a mortgage, we found out that if you don't have city sewer, sanitary sewer, and you don't have city water, it is almost impossible to get a mortgage. And that was what was holding Venice back. Venice just could not get over that hump because it would take a bond issue. And at that time, one man, that's Bob Baynard, one man owned about 80% of the property in Venice. And of course, with a bond issue, guess who pays off that bond? The property owners. And so he opposed that bond issue, the city sewer and city water. And we formed a group called a Civic Action Association. And we then ran somebody for office and got him elected, and the next year another one. And at that time there were now there's 7, there are 5 city council members. And once we had 3 city council members, we were able to float that bond issue. And that changed Venice entirely, because then you could put in the sewer system, you could put in the water system, and here came the development and the building.
In other
took
words,
off.
the city paid for the installation of it.
Well, the
rather
bond
than-
issue, yeah.
Through the
In
bond
other words,
issue.
floating the bond issue provided
than each
the
individual-
umpteen millions of dollars that it took to
Right.
to put in the sewer.
So, let's see. Let's see what we missed here. All right, let's show some pictures of young Dan and Freda Boone. Here is, well, I think we have one younger than this, but that's Dan Boone in
Yeah,
1971.
that was my office in the Florida Park Light Building.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is,
Well, let's
Hold it
see.
and you tell
On the left, on the left is Avis Hines, who, as we said, is Charles Hines's mother, Commissioner, Sarasota County Commissioner Hines. Freda Boone is the other lady in the picture. Yeah. This one would be pretty early.
Oh, okay, that's a great picture. Love that. What year was that?
That would be in the first couple years, 2 or 3 years after I came here and opened up law practice.
Okay. So that's really great. Who's the other gentleman with you?
Oh, the court reporter, Don Bell. He was taking, as you can see, he was on the stenotype machine. He was taking down what the proceedings. I have no
so
idea
this
what.
is in court.
I have no idea what. No, that was in what was when I moved here. The Venice City Hall was the city had moved the recreation building from the Venice Army Air Base up to Venice Avenue, and that was City Hall.
It was, right.
And it was just a World War II leftover World War II building.
Yeah, here's another good one. Okay. You can tell us who these.
Those are the two more ladies working for us at the time, Joyce LaRue and Chris Millar. And that's in Florida Park Light Building.
Okay. Well, how did you get into?
Here we go. I know somewhere we have to have a picture of
so when did
this
you
building.
When did you build this building that you were into?
1973.
1973, and it's a Virginia building. You told me.
Yes, certainly Williamsburg style. It's modeled after the Tryon Palace, and the Tryon Palace was the governmental seat of the colony of North Carolina.
So why did you decide to use that architectural style?
Like it.
I think that's probably a pretty good answer, is because,
it's timeless. No matter.
Yeah.
It fits. At the time we built it, it still fits and will always.
And
it's a beautiful building.
And that's correct. Also, I wanted to build something that was, at the time this was taking place in the 70s, a lot of the commercial buildings in Venice were being built. They looked like cigar boxes. They were flat roof, flat sides, no character to them at all.
50s and 60s buildings.
And I thought, this town has been awfully good to me. Why don't I try to build something that would have some character to it? And that was another reason why we built this building.
Well, what year did your sons enter your law firm?
One in 1982 and one in 1983.
Now, what you're best known for, I think, right now is probably land use.
Yes.
And how did you get into that business?
Venice, the explosive growth that was taking place took place pretty much right in the immediate area of Venice. But then the expansion started, where tracts of land out from Venice were being annexed, were being brought into the city for further development, and that opened up a law practice opportunity. And I started out doing that, and then I got into full-time hospital work, and Jeff took over and that was 25 years ago. It's been a long time ago, and that's been Jeff's, and not only Jeff, but assisted by Steve doing some of the work. Jim Collins, that's all Jim Collins does. Peggy Fruch, the different lawyers in the law firm, all have been involved in the development and the annexations and that type of work.
Well, I find it interesting because, even I would have to say that government can be challenging to get through all the hoops and everything. I defend it because without all of these checks and balances and maybe the difficulties, it would be hard to represent the majority of people's interests. So that we have to have those government work slowly so that the majority of the people can be served.
That's true.
However, if I had a big plot of land and I wanted to annex it into the city, I certainly would get help. And I would suspect that a lot of people have come to you for help that way, because it can't be easy to understand all of the ramifications of what you need to do when you want to annex and build a certain type of property. So how did you first get involved? There's been a lot of starts and stops in Venice, construction-wise.
A builder, there have been two builders of note. I mean, there have been a lot of builders, don't get me wrong, but there have been two. First was Bob Hamilton. And Bob Hamilton, Venice Gardens, all of the beachfront condos, Bob Hamilton was the prime builder, and we represented him. So we had all this real estate work, and he was really a developer. And then of course the second one, some years later, Mike Miller. Same thing, where Mike Miller was just heavily involved in the real estate work and the development work. So that's and from Bob Hamilton's time is when we got involved, and then kept on.
So you've really been doing this for a long time.
Right.
And a lot of the work that you've done sort of shows itself after the development is done, all the agreements that were made and so on. It turns into a physical place where people live.
And the development work, whether it's rezonings or whether it's development or whether it's annexations or whatever, not just the city of Venice, but all of the ranch land out from Venice toward Northport, and then Northport. We work in Northport a lot. Mm-hmm. We work in the county. We work out in Sarasota County a lot, so that it isn't just in the city of Venice. But that type of work came to a grinding halt about 2008, I guess it was, when everything just stopped.
Right. But that wasn't the first time, surely, that you've seen everything stop here.
No, that, for me, that was the third time. Uh-huh. But it was the deepest of the cuts, was this most recent one. Mm-hmm. But there had been two others before, but where it took 5 or 6 years to recover.
Tell me about those. How did it affect the community? Was it much different from how we were affected with this most recent one?
Same as this time. The housing was overbuilt. The condos along the beach were overbuilt, and when things just slowed down, and it just got really slow. Mm-hmm. And then, as I say, 5 or 6 years later, you worked out of that, mm-hmm. and back to getting back in. And it's the same thing now, fortunately, but different, because back then the banks were not. It wasn't like it was this time. Let me put it that way. With all the bank foreclosures, they didn't have that kind of thing. It was the property was pretty much on the market and just didn't sell. Now, it was a matter of this time around. It's been foreclosures upon foreclosures. Mm.
So it's been more difficult in that way
this time around. It's more difficult. Yep. Mm. Thank goodness that our law practice is not devoted strictly to real estate.
Right.
Because the lawyers who, in the heyday of real estate, those lawyers who did nothing but real estate, they're out of business.
Right.
But thank the good Lord that our law practice was spread over other areas of law, not
There's
just
a lot
real
to
estate.
be said for diversity in business, for sure.
Yeah.
So what, and I want both of you to answer this, but what is the thing that you've done here in Venice that makes you the most proud?
Jeff and Steve. No doubt about it. I'm most proud our sons,
And tell me
and
why.
their families.
And tell me why. Not that I don't know, because I'm a grandparent myself, but yes, tell me why.
Well, Jeff and Steve, they knew before they ever went off to college, they knew that they wanted to be lawyers. They had grown up in a house of two lawyers. They'd grown up in a house where they saw what it was like, that they saw when I would be gone and all that sort of thing. And this is what they wanted to do. And we didn't push them. We did not influence them. But that's what they wanted to do. We're so proud. And then they have done. We had this paper that came out last year was just a
That was
marvelous,
Jeff and Steve Boone,
just a
who are
marvelous thing.
part of the Boone. And how many Boones do you have?
Yeah. Well, those are our two sons.
Yes.
We have two children,
Yes.
both boys.
Yes.
Those are the two.
Right,
Those are the
but
two children.
your firm is called.
We're Boone. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Boone, Coda and Fruch. Yeah.
Okay,
that
gotcha.
is the law firm, and as you say, we've added Caroline, and hopefully we're going to add
Three more.
Jackson and Annie and Stuart.
That's right. You told us that last month that your Jeff's twins are in their freshman year, and Stuart
Second year.
is in
the second year.
Oh, second year.
Second year.
And so
And it takes 3 years.
and Stuart, who is Steve's son, they're all getting ready to become attorneys.
Yes, they are.
That's
Yes,
great.
they are.
It's a great family heritage. And if you ask either of your sons, they will say, Freda is the brains of the operation.
That's true. Well,
That's
ask
not
me.
true.
Ask me.
I was going to say, ask any of the Boone men.
Absolutely.
And you've been part of this the whole time. Did you go, you knew each other, you met after he went to law school, but you were already working in a law firm.
At his first job in Lake City, Florida,
Right.
I was the secretary there, and that's where we met.
And that's how you learned.
And when we left to get me, when I was telling that I would be leaving because Dan and I were going to be married, and the younger attorney said, "Well, he only wants a secretary." And I said, "Well, that may be, but I'm going in."
Well, it looks like
And
you
now
got even
56
more.
years. And now 56 years later.
Still together, have a wonderful family, and you have really made a contribution to this beautiful community. And so what do you feel is your greatest contribution to the community?
Pretty much as I had said, I think that the most lasting thing of all is the fact that I really do feel that obtaining the beachfront land for the city of Venice, it'll be city forever and ever.
And that it can never be developed.
Will never. No, it belongs. Right, it'll never be developed because it belongs to the city of Venice.
See, and I've always heard that crazy rumor thing of, if Casperson Beach were, which is actually in the county, if it were incorporated into the city or annexed, the city would be building big condos. The city doesn't even build anything, but
Right.
we couldn't anyway, right? Because
And-
all of those beach areas have some kind of legal.
Well, actually, the only way that you could have construction condominiums on the city-owned property along the beach would be the city of Venice would have to do that. And I can't ever believe that any city council member would ever want to take the beachfront, the only beachfront we have, and build condominiums on. But then people, you hear those kind of rumors. I mean, people talk like that.
They do. I don't know why. But I think that it's good for everyone to know that we have that beautiful beachfront for the public forever, for perpetuity. And so
That's
that, and I don't blame you for being proud of that. We're one of the few places in the area in Florida that has so much public access to their beaches.
Yep.
And we were able to get our beach renourishment because of that. So inadvertently, we have that to thank you for too.
There are some teddy bears scattered around the office because I am very partial to teddy bears, and
Okay.
that's one that's one that somebody had given me. I don't remember who.
Okay, and this is about is this about you opening your law firm? No.
Yeah, that was in September 1956. We together got during the summer we got the office. You know, you have to have typewriters and chairs and tables and all, and we got the office put together. And then the day after Labor Day in 1956 was our first day in business.
Oh, great. So we probably should explain to young people what typewriters are, but we won't.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so this says E.G. Boone. So I told you before I was going to ask you what E.G. stands for.
Right, and the unfortunately, I guess for me at least, my grandfather named my father Etheridge Griswold Boone. Etheridge is a last name, Griswold is a last name, and Boone. Then I came along, and guess what? Etheridge Griswold Boone Jr. So I was saddled with that name.
And did you go through your childhood being called what?
Dan.
Dan? And when did you get to be Dan? Right away when you were a baby? Did somebody?
I was in school.
Oh, okay.
I was in school. I don't remember what grade in school, but that was just a lot of name.
Sure.
And then when in school, they study people like Davy Crockett and Dan Boone and Daniel Boone and all, and I became Dan Boone.
Ah,
So,
excellent.
and have been that ever since. And believe me, I prefer the name Dan, although it's not my name. I prefer Dan over Etheridge Griswold.
So those are all family names.
Those are all family names, yes. You know,
It's a very nice tradition, though, and it's great to have your own Dan, too.
yeah.
Well, we're so glad you joined us again this month to hear the final interview with Freda and Dan Boone. It's been such a pleasure talking to both of you about your experiences here in Venice, and it's been a pleasure to have you with us. And we hope you'll join us again next time when we bring you more Venice Views.